Hi, everyone. Today is Saturday, September 6th, 2025. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the movement of spiritual inner awareness with the encouragement and support of my friend John Morton, who holds the mystical traveler consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness that does the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We're going to start by calling ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant three Anai hues. Hue is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. Then I'm going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to do a reading from Abu Said. And then we can talk about whatever you would like. So, with that, I see Ron Holnick's on the call. If you'd like to call us into the light, my friend, it'd be great.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Well, can you hear me now, Ron?
Okay. All right, ready to go? Lord God, Lord God of all creation, we come before you today with love in our hearts. We ask for your assistance in standing forward more fully, and we mean more fully, in the radiance and in the blessings and in the loving that is our spiritual intention. And for this time together, Lord, we give our thanks. So be it.
It is by reflection that you're seen, and the spirit inside is seen by reflection through the eyes. It's seen by reflection through the action. It's seen by reflection in the voice, in the approach, in the caring, in the sharing, but mostly it's seen by the service to the other being. Jesus Christ said, love God with all thy body, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. So some people go up to others and they say, I salute the divinity in you. That isn't what he said to do. He didn't say, go up and salute divinity in them. Jeez, people won't listen. Well, I can't love that person. He didn't say, go love that person. He says, love God, the Father within, with all your body, mind, and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. So you love the Father in the neighbor. And so you do say, I love the Christ in you. I love God in you. I love that in you. It is by reflection.
Okay, this is a piece called If You Want to Draw Near to God by Abu Said. If you want to draw near to God, seek Him in the hearts of those around you. Speak well of all present or absent. If you would be a light for others, be like the sun. Show the same face to all. To bring joy to a single heart is better than building countless shrines for worship. To capture one heart through kindness is better than setting 1,000 free. This is the true lover of God who lives with others, rises and eats and sleeps like others, gives and takes with others in the bazaar, yet never forgets God even for one moment. All right. Before we start, uh, wanted to just take a moment for us all to send light to anyone who might have passed into spirit recently, to their soul journey and to their soul's evolution and their process, their journey home, that we're all just walking each other home to the heart of God. And some people take the scenic route, and some people like shortcuts, but we're all going to the same place because not one soul will be lost. Okay, so Elaine,
Um, Thank you. Okay, that was unexpected. Sorry, I've been wanting to share for a few weeks and just been really, really unexpectedly nervous. So thank you, Jeffrey. And I kind of, I think I only shared once. So anyway, thank you. Um, well, I would love assistance and support with my anxiety. So I'm just feeling very anxious at the moment, and it's specifically to do with my knee. And I realize as I'm saying it that many people have much more serious concerns. And when I'm talking about my knee, and which I'm kind of really worried about at the moment, I'm having surgery, but it's kind of an unusual surgery. Um, I do have an awareness of, I don't know if it's a system, Jeffrey, or a pattern of anxiety that can maybe seem as intense, whether it was the anxiety I had when Stephen was sick and dying, or the anxiety over a little thing at work, or something bigger like this, that's the same physical feeling I get. So I just love to clear that. And then specifically with my knee, I feel like I'm using many of the tools, listening to JRSEs, reading helpful books, and also focusing on like service, work, things I know work.
yeah, I think the first thing to consider in what you're saying, or the first thing to explore, is you have a way of kind of editing yourself or devaluing your process. So when you said, well, other people are dealing with worse issues than my knee issue, there was a part of you listening to you called your basic self that incorporated that understanding that your needs and your sufferings are less important than others' needs and others' sufferings. Are you aware of that?
Well, I am, but then when I do that, when my basic self does that, I feel, well, don't be silly. it's you look what
So
he went through, look what some of my friends are going through. So
I uh I personally I don't see a difference. Like there's not a suffering competition on the planet. Now, it's very easy to get into an ego position of saying like, well, there are children starving and I remember being at the dinner table and getting that guilt trip about like finishing the food on my plate because there are some children starving in China. For some reason they were always in China and then eventually Africa. I guess that evolved or something. But, and then you would have the snide remark, well, get me an envelope. I'll send it out, which is incredibly insensitive. But nonetheless, it's very easy to look upon the process of another and assume that you understand what's going on. Their suffering may be their baptism. It may be the last thing they need to do before they enter the heart of God. So we don't really know. All suffering is valid. All suffering has a place. And the more you give it a place, the more you can actually figure out what the suffering is communicating. And it's a special kind of neuroses that says, I'm very, very anxious, and then goes, oh, who am I to feel anxious?
yeah, I I know I'm aware of that. It's kind of a Jewishy thing, maybe, kind of.
Oh, yeah, no, blame your ancestors by all means. Yeah, no, there may be a correlation. There may be a correlation. That might exist. What are you experiencing in terms of symptoms? Is it your right knee or your left knee?
Well, thank you, because I didn't know whether to tell you. So my left, so I want to keep it really simple. The reason along with thinking, who am I to be complaining, is um, the story that I had a right knee issue 12 years ago, and Stephen and he was just amazing in supporting me. And after a long period of swellings, we found a doctor who knew what it was, and it's bloody effusion. So in the right knee, I had this blood swelling that's kind of akin to hemophilia, but was just in the knee. And we found the right guy who I still see, and he did surgery, and it was fine, and it's been fine for 12 years. And he didn't think this would happen to the other knee. Anyway, it's happened to the other knee. So I've had three um, kind of pretty serious swellings, which means as well that I can't exercise, which I do every walk. I go for very long walks, swims, can't do that. So I feel stressed about not exercising. But the upshot is he is doing surgery on October the 2nd or before if he gets a cancellation. But last night I was having just a nice evening at home and on my own, and it swelled again. Hadn't been walking. I've been very careful. I can't see him until Wednesday morning, and so I just feel a lot of anxiety. Like, what do I do over the weekend? And then the anxiety spirals, and I have some actually really lovely plans for the weekend involving, in fact, service related to Steve. But I'm really excited about a guy and his family, who he's a brain cancer survivor who I wrote about recently, wants to bring his whole family to dinner to meet me. So I've got a really nice evening planned and same things, and then I just feel, well, it all has to stop because of my knee. Obviously, it won't. I won't disappoint. I um I've got. So that's what's going on with my knee anyway. It's a blood thing, related thing, not a regular knee thing, and I am having surgery, and he's sure, he's said it should be fine. But I
Yeah,
can't seem to calm my basic self down or any of me. I just feel like very upset.
yeah, yeah, I hear that. So a couple things. Um, Imam Ali once said, when the world brings us to our knees, we're in a perfect position to pray. The needs have always been associated with, to some extent, a surrender to something higher. And therefore, knee issues generally will manifest as an argument between you and reality. The
Uh,
left knee is associated often with the past for some reason. The left side will often be past, the right side will, like yin and yang. So yin will often express in the past. So having an argument with reality in terms of what you think occurred in the past is part of it. The second component is you're making a lot of assumptions and correlating the anxiety. You may be experiencing anxiety as a fundamental response because of mechanisms that have been set up, and now your mind is looking for something to be anxious about, and voila, you have your knee. Do you follow what I'm saying?
yeah, I think so. And I mean, is that related to the fact that the general, so right now, the knee is what I'm anxious about for me.
Correct, but
Not anxious about.
you were generally anxious.
So I'm always anxious, like it could be a
So
work.
what does the anxious feeling give you? What's the payoff? Why was anxiousness set up by the system of your consciousness, and how does it serve you?
Well, I do know that when I get through the anxiety, there's a real feeling of not just relief, but kind of accomplishment or success. Or I don't know if I'm saying this, I'm just saying what's coming into my head. So whether it's like a work thing and I wake up and there's an anxious deadline, or whether there's a kid thing, when my grown daughter's something.
Is achievement in your life often correlated to adversity?
Well, not like, yeah, well, adversity, difficult, very, for me, what's extreme difficulty. So I think I intensify. I do think, even as a journalist, maybe like the intensity of when I was
Yeah.
younger, deadline, like going into a difficult situation and
Right.
then overcoming it, and then you did it, you got through.
And have you noticed that the world doesn't necessarily respond to your desires? Like you don't necessarily get what you want, but you often get what you expect or what you believe you're to get.
Well, I get so what well, I don't know what I kind of feel like. Do I get what I want? I mean, I get through it all with a measure of success or
Let-
accomplishment. Like even
Well,
if
let me put it a different way. Your beliefs form the fabric often of your experience, and you program your experience based on expectation. And so you have a template running in your consciousness that says, I'm going to get a significant payoff, and the best way for me to succeed is to have adversity.
I yes, and also what feels like
Not adversity as in like somebody working against you, because that actually doesn't fit the pattern. It's more like a very hard assignment or a very high mountain to climb in a sense.
that is exactly it. Even in the past, it has been something like a high mountain, like literally a high mountain or something physical.
Yeah.
Do this and you'll prove. So yeah, so no, that does resonate. But right now, of course, I'm kind of sick of it, and I am doing all that stuff. I feel like loving what I want to do is really put into practice what I've been learning from you about really loving the whole process medicinally.
Yeah.
Don't
So
use love.
the way to do that is to recognize that the anxiety isn't your anxiety insofar as you are an anxious person. Instead, the anxiety is a program or mechanism that seeks its fulfillment or seeks the fulfillment of its intended function. And
That is perfect. Yeah.
and then you minister to it and you love it and you ask it, is there a because a lot of people relate to the basic self as an irrational child, and that can be useful at times, functionally useful. My experience is there is a very complex and beautiful logic in every basic self for everything we do. We just don't remember the logic. We don't remember why it was set up. We don't remember why it makes sense. And if you intend for this loyal servant of your physical existence on this planet to shift a pattern that has worked previously, you're going to have to demonstrate to it that it can achieve the same results using a better method. And then you will be surprised how quickly it will take it on. And by the way, this applies equally for addictive patterns like smoking and things like that. So I'm saying this for other people on the call even, that we assume that all these things are an affliction and a wrong. In most cases, it's the basic self trying to serve us extremely loyally to achieve the intentions of our experience. And usually it's about survivability. It's about, it's like some people look back at their childhood and have a lot of negative feelings toward whatever patterns or quote unquote damage is in place. In most cases, the basic self set up the optimal response to the environment in which we were raised, and we just don't like it anymore. But that doesn't mean that the basic self's stupid or wrong. That just means we don't like it anymore, so let's give him something better to use, or her something better to use. So if you want anxiety to stop, you have to stop identifying yourself as an anxious person. You have to stop acting through the anxious identity. And you have to start looking at the anxious one as a program that your basic self runs that you probably told either you, maybe the psychic genetic level, maybe a past life. The directive has been given and it's simply fulfilling that. So you got to figure out, how do I offer this or something better for the highest good of all concerned that will give the basic self a way to serve the purpose that is valid, that the whole reason the anxiety pattern was set up for you. And then you can give it a different way. Another way to work with this is change your dialogue, change your narrative. You tend to tell negative stories about your life. And then you tend to commiserate with other people and have them listen to you tell negative stories about your life. And then you get positive reinforcement from you telling negative stories about their life because they'll be very sympathetic and very affectionate with you. And your basic self likes those things. And you like those things. You like the affectionateness and you like the sense of connection that you get with friends and all that kind of stuff. But those negative stories are being listened to by someone. And that someone is you. And people want to say that their basic self is this other thing. No, this conscious experience vehicle is a spectrum of experience, which includes a more subconscious level, the basic self, and a conscious level, and then a high self, and all of it working in harmony, we hope. No, so it's useful to differentiate because there is disharmony that does occur, and there is a spiritual marriage that can occur when we align. But it's very important. It's very important that we not divorce ourselves from these aspects of who we are in the way that we tell stories and the way that we work. So I I would suggest that you, on a conscious level, discipline yourself to say things like, this is going to be real easy. My body knows exactly how to heal this. This doctor is the best doctor I could possibly find. This doctor is brilliant and knows exactly how to heal this. You see, you start versus like
Yeah.
telling,
Yeah,
huh?
I think kind of because one of the brilliant things about my the doctor and his I told you this, but so my doctor, when we found him, Steve and I, because it's a blood synovitis is what I have, which is kind of blood on the knee joint thing. But actually something is lifting, just something is definitely
Yeah,
lifting.
because as I'm saying it, it's going into your basic self, and then all of a sudden it's starting to lift. And then when you start relieving the pressure by changing your narrative about your life, you're going to need to cry a little bit because a lot of energy gets built up in order to support this process of anxiety. It takes a lot of work for you, and it's what you've decided is necessary. It's like with me with spiritual practice, at one point I thought worrying about falling off the spiritual path was necessary to be on the spiritual path, and that's not true. And I had a real cathartic moment when I realized that wasn't necessary. And then I repatterned it in the basic self. And then all of a sudden, all that energy I was spending on worrying went back into my body. And then I just couldn't handle the energy. It was so much. Now, you have no idea how, like, when you free this up and you redirect the energy that you put into this anxiety equals achievement mechanism you've got going, that because you have it's like a pride. You can see it's like you see this in some households where the oldest daughter will start to show anxiety or start to show worry or overthinking or over preparing, and she'll get the positive reinforcement. Oh, our daughter's so responsible. She's so studious. She do this whole thing. They get and they get to feel like they're an adult. Usually females will develop a lot faster and they'll want to be feeling adults sooner, whereas the male may resist that process, as we've seen. But feeling like the responsible one it's like an archetype. It's an archetype for a lot of female consciousnesses that they glom onto. And sometimes it can be admiration for the matriarch of the family, or sometimes it can be the absence of a matriarch in the family and stepping forward because there's a vacuum in the energy or in the energetic matrix of the family. But you see how it can be patterned in very young and it can seem very noble. And sometimes it can even be learned where you might see a parent who's always anxious about their work and you admire them and think they're so smart and so bright. Oh, I want to be like them. So then you take on anxiety.
Yeah, I mean all that fits with my dad, and yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know. I was thinking about your dad too. But nonetheless, I'm I'm just saying like it doesn't have to continue.
so
You
I would love to stop. So I would, and what you were saying about the like
discipline the story level.
discipline, because I love stories and I write stories.
So write a real positive story about everything that's going to happen.
Yeah. But I
In some esoteric circles, they call that an ideal scene, by the way.
well, I do them kind of daily. Actually, my USM ideal
Oh my
scenes.
God. You do
I
ideal scenes daily?
I do them almost daily. I'm not going to say sorry, Ron and Mary. I do them nearly daily. I'll do a daily one and a yearly. What Chase and I sit down to do yearly ones, and we
I
do.
like the yearly ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
no,
do
that's great.
many.
But then if you write an ideal scene and then you go to your girlfriends and tell them about how worried you are about how shitty it's going to be and all that kind of stuff, I don't know.
So, yeah, okay. Again, I don't want to take too much time. So there are really amazing things about this, which now I'm kind of settling the anxiety settling. My two
I
doctors,
noticed.
my two doctors, the one who's operating, who we found by amazing serendipity 12 years ago, Steve and I, is called Dr. Luck. Um, and he's just wonderful. And when he brought in his younger kind of colleague who doesn't see very many people, so it's kind of a privilege last week to look at my knee, and he's called, I swear it, Dr. Christ, spelt Christ, but he pronounces it Christ. So, I have Christ and luck on my side, just to start. But I know I know it's all going to be fine. But so there are two things. One is the spiraling, which of course I know isn't good. Like, well, what if it goes wrong and then my leg's amputated? I can never walk again and swim, and
Yeah, so a lot of people
I end
think
up in
that
a wheelchair.
a lot of people think that the negative images in their head are to torment them. The negative images in your head might be to heal. Like if you see a negative scene in your head, because you have a side of you that can be very visual. So like when you see like that kind of a scary situation or image or flashback to sometime when you saw somebody else in the hospital or things like that, you assume that it's like processing the something real or something worrisome or something. What you can do is you can very intentionally bring light into that situation. So if you're going to create a fantasy or a mock-up of a circumstance and it looks really dreary, you can clean it up.
Yeah. Okay.
You can bring in JR, you can bring in the Lord Jesus Christ, you can bring in whoever that is for you, and then watch them just bless the room, clear the room, heal your knee. That's another way of winning in your fantasy. And that
Yes.
includes fantasies of the past, by the way. It
Um,
was astounding to me that it's weird. It's like I had this point at which I was looking back at past experiences that I regretted, or something about them that I wish would have been different. And then I remember listening to a seminar by John Roger where he talked about his father driving him in the car, and he was kind of confronting his father about all the negative things he did as a father. And the father kind of almost fishtails the car and gets him to the edge of a cliff and then says, "You're a smart kid. If you don't, I did what I did. If you don't like it, change it inside of you." And so it occurred to me, maybe it's very direct. Maybe it's like I really can just change it inside of me. So I went back into that negative scene from the past that had been tormenting me. And then I asked for the Lord Jesus Christ and JR, and I saw the light come in, and I watched them just basically heal everybody in the room. And by the end of it, my only association with that memory was loving because everything was clear. And the
okay.
same can be done in the future. You see, your intuition sometimes expresses through anxiety, like getting an odd feeling about something. Odd feeling, it's like kinesthetic for you. So you may be getting an early warning system of like, okay, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to place a light column in the operating room. Okay, maybe there's a way that I can ask for the Christ to bless this doctor, and that's going to assist the doctor to be in a better state on the day of the operation. So you think that the language of your anxiety is to torment you rather than simply to notify you, the way that like pain in the body says, "Hey, I'm over here. Hey, there's something you want to look at over here. That's why I'm hurting," you know? And of course we make that wrong because we don't like it rather than listen to it. Or even worse, we anesthetize it and we ignore it and we keep doing what we're doing without getting to the bottom of what was the pain trying to tell me. But your anxiety may be trying to tell you that there's greater opportunity for you to work with the energies of the places you're going to go and the people you're going to meet.
For this particular situation, as in the knee,
Really, any
or
situation.
in
But,
general.
but, but see, I'm giving you a way to repattern it because right now anxiety is treated like an affliction. I'm giving you a different way of relating to your anxiety as an opportunity to enter into a process of ministry and service and light work. So instead of going, "Oh my God, please, anxiety, please leave me alone," you go, "Oh, thank you for notifying me of the next one that I'm to love and serve and the next one that I'm to minister to."
This is like perfect. So thank you. I just have one more question because in terms of sharing with people, like, do you suggest then? So I heard you talk about, I think, about stories, and I suppose in my job, I'm like really a storyteller. But so I do tell people, even new people, my story. Oh, I lost my husband and it was traumatic, and sometimes go into detail, or sometimes don't. So, and then I tell people, how are you? If it's somebody, I know well, a good friend, I would say, well, I'm really worried about my knee. So is it better, do you think? So I don't want to bypass what's happening, or whatever the word is, but is it better to just in your head, well, I'm having,
I think it's shifting the attitude and the vantage point. So instead of telling the story about you going through your difficult situation, talk about it as a learning experience or talk about it as uh, uh, I'm working with my anxiety and learning new ways to love myself through this process. You see, it's a different mentality. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm saying, sure, be complete. Honesty is always powerful, but I think you the tricky part is you're talking about honesty, but if I asked you, is that true? Are you really sure that what you're saying is true? Sometimes the answer is no.
totally.
So if you stick to the truth of what you know, the truth of what you know is I'm aware of some anxious feelings in my body and that sometimes I go into negative fantasy in my mind. That's different than, oh, I'm so anxious. I just don't know if it's going to turn out okay. And I don't know if the doctor's going to somehow get drunk on the date of the surgery for no reason. And maybe he'll get hit by a meteor. And I just see, that's different than me going from an empowered state. I'm working with this long time anxiety pattern inside of me. And I invent these real but see, honesty is also taking responsibility for what you know and don't know. And the way you tell stories, because you like telling stories, you really, and you like sometimes getting a little bit of a rise out of people, you may step beyond what you truly know in this moment. And so I think it's about intellectual honesty. So if you tell the story from intellectual honesty. Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I do understand without kind of dramatic elaboration
And
and
if you need to be dramatic, tell your basic self and the person across from you, I'm going to vent right now and get real messy. Can you just hold the bucket while I vomit?
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
see what I'm saying? But you even saying that tells your basic self, okay, we're just letting go of energy right now. Don't listen, don't take direction from this.
yeah.
See what I'm saying? But then the intention really needs to be releasing energy. Commiserating, like if you read, there's a lot of scientific research recently that says, quote unquote, venting about a problem is not actually a good method to resolve it, and that often people feel worse afterwards. Now, I think that's with a grain of salt. I mean, when people just dwell on a problem and talk about it over and over and over, yeah, they get more of the problem. You know, it's interesting when you focus on a problem over and over and put a lot of energy into it, you just get more of that problem. You ever notice that?
Totally. And I've
Yeah,
read that
no,
research
fair.
about
But there's another side of that coin that says if from a neutral consciousness you are aware of energies in your body that simply need to release themselves, then it can be very therapeutic. But no more therapeutic than if you realize you had a lot of like Martian energy in your body and then you go work out or you go boxing. You see, that's just ecology. That's working with the energies of the body. The
yes.
mind won't get you there. The mind doesn't get you that. You're going to have to actually work with the computer, with that incredible intelligence of the basic self and the body consciousness to release those things intentionally.
Yeah, that's great. And I do know that everything, I do know, like on a deep level, not just a surface level, that it all is for me, and it's all about learning to love myself through what I'm going through now. And
I understand. There's also better ways to utilize your incredible creative talents than telling negative stories to your friends
yeah, yeah.
and getting a rise out of them. You can tell funny stories too. You have an incredible sense of humor when you let yourself.
Yeah, this is do you think free form writing, because it's as a way of venting rather than venting like the negative stories?
It
What do you think?
depends in your case. It depends because writing for you has been so heavily associated with the mental level. It will take a bit longer in freeform writing for you to get to the point where it's highly therapeutic. Like usually when people do freeform writing, to really get the juicy stuff, you kind of got to do it for like an hour. So usually you kind of get, you're vomiting, you're vomiting, you're vomiting, and then it kind of gets silent in a way. Like you kind of go like, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, and then it kind of gets almost like dots, and then there's this whole other wacky level after that. That's pretty cool. That's very cleansing.
Yeah, and I don't
So,
do it for
so
now.
it can
And
be
journal,
helpful,
yeah, yeah.
but I don't know that I mean, it's going to take a while before you see the end of your mental creativity. So you could probably just write for an hour without ever entering the field of what we would call freeform writing because you're naturally a writer. Do you understand what I've said? Like it's more challenging for you to get outside your head. You might need to you should definitely do it with a pen. Like for you, it's like more like you got to do it with your body. It's more like if you did a dance class or if you did the movement thing or if you did like maybe breathing, like some people do different kind of directed breathing exercises to unlock things. Like I would do something a lot more in the body for you.
Okay.
because but hey, I'm not saying don't do freeform writing. I would never, because it's an effective tool. I'm just saying I think your mind's a little clever to benefit from freeform writing.
But maybe in my nightly journaling, which I do, I could be a bit more kind of, I mean, I just do a few sentences a night, but maybe I could just be a bit more, well, positive, or just like not as negative in my, if I'm, anyway, thank you. This is really
Yes.
helpful. I'm so,
Or you could convert it into a gratitude journal,
yeah.
and you could write three things you're grateful for before you go to sleep.
Yeah, brilliant. I love you. I'm just amazed by you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm amazed by you too. I saw this video you posted the other day, and I had no idea you were like the official expert for BBC for the Royals or something.
But yeah, NBC and extra, and yeah, thank you. Anyway, yes, that was,
Yeah, that's kind of that's something. We all have to have a something.
yeah, I do. I remember being anxious about that as well. So yeah, but thank
I
you.
loved it. I was like, your hairdo was like so 90s or something. It was so great. I loved it.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, talk to you later. Okay, Tom.
Blessings to you, Jeffrey. Thank you for calling on me. Boy, this last sharing it's really coincidental. It's almost kind of right down the alley of but I have my own sort of unique situation as far as anxiety and fear and such. If you don't mind,
Yeah.
um, just not sure where to start. I'm experiencing a tremendous amount of fear, anxiety, worry. Uh, and trauma. The trauma came along. Well, I was probably traumatized as a child as well, but 9 months ago, starting 9 months ago, there were about 3 or 4 different events that occurred that I allowed myself to sort of go into trauma,
Okay.
and and so I experienced severe stress and such, and it wasn't all bad and negative. It was a time for me of great spiritual growth and deep healing, and I'm just very very grateful for all or most of everything that happened during that time. um DSS-6 was a great healing support for me, and I was sort of felt as though had broken through finally into this sense of spirit moving through me and healing me and changing me in micro ways and such. So sort of coming to the present, this is manifesting in my body as this pretty much nonstop um, electrical current that's going through my body, that's negative, that's intense, ringing in my ears. So I know that there's something stuck in my body, but then I know there's also a lot of stuff to heal as well from. And so
So you had a convergent, like a spiritually convergent. Oh, you had a spiritually convergent experience, but then the after effect was somehow your body is now got this electrical current.
yeah, I think during the spiritual experiences and the growth I was having, I think the some a lot of the I was shedding a lot of, doing tons of forgiveness around mom, dad, family situation, kids, and just doing a lot of healing from that perspective. But I think at the same time I was going through, I still had that sense of fear when I wasn't engaged in those processes, if that makes sense. So, and then so has now manifested. I went to the doctor yesterday. I got bad news. I don't know how bad it is, as far as more tests need to be done on my prostate. But there's definitely an issue there.
Hmm.
Um, and so I just, you know, I'm and I can't tell you how many times I've been on my knees and just, giving it to the Lord and Christ and traveler. Um, and so, and I do at the same time, I know that I've learned from you, was it last week? This is my life to love it and to heal it. So I'm aware of that mentally and consciously. And that I chose this, this situation. But at the same time, I feel stuck and would love to have your help in this regard.
Okay. One of the, and I'm hearing like an echo of myself, so maybe I'll mute you, or because or maybe you can mute you,
Okay.
because it'll distract me if I'm trying to talk. Anyway, you can communicate in sign language if need be. Um, so one of the challenges in fully integrating spiritually convergent experiences is that we have different levels of the consciousness and the body that may be calibrated based upon intentions that we unintentionally or subconsciously set or set in the past without realizing it. So we may be consciously very intending to surrender, or intending to release, or intending to be present right now. But the tricky part is my experience is I've seen people, and I've certainly had my own experience of healing from like the throat up in a sense. But then the question becomes, how do I integrate that down into every level, layer, and aspect of my being? Now, part of that is it's um it's not so much, or let me put it like this. Part of it is listening and understanding and using your intuition to start to understand where the disagreement is, or where the intentionality is, or where the different parts are. And you can do that intellectually, but you can also do that more on a kinesthetic level. And one way that I've done that is, and I've talked to people about this on the talks, is you can put a quality, like a ball of light of the quality that you want to test against. And you start to pull it through different levels of the body system. And when it goes clunk, you kind of click on that and figure out where's the resistance, where's the argument, where's the contraction, where's the intention that is counter to what's going on. There's another level beyond that that's a bit tricky and a bit more subtle. There's a way in which we, in a very beautiful sense, may disempower ourselves. So, for example, you talk about on my knees before God and the traveler. You almost see yourself down low and them up high. You see, you start to form hierarchical structures. And to a large extent, that's the subtlety that I'm talking about, where you were raised with some of those very hierarchical structures, and without knowing it, you perpetuate them. There's a radical perspective that you could say, okay, intellectually, I can look at all the levels of my consciousness and I can start to identify all the things that are out of alignment with this new flow of energy and this new flow of consciousness that's coming through me. Another way of looking at it is there is a specific you that you think you are, you that you identify with, and that one carries in it an incompatibility with that energy. And are you willing to let that one go? So, in that sense, you start by saying, I and the beloved am one. Or maybe you start by saying, who is this I? Who am I? And then you recognize the beloved and you say, I am the beloved. and I worship the beloved. And then you say, I and the beloved am one. But there's a point at which are you willing to be no one, essentially, and be just the beloved? So just the beloved remains. And there's a way in which, like, that sounds nice, but I'm talking about that as a practical reality. And it's like you have to be willing to, and the willingness is the key, right? You have to be willing to be born new right now. This issue with the prostate, whatever it is, whatever the doctor says it is, there's a mechanism in the consciousness, a mechanism in the body that set that up for you. Now, it may have set that up because it's part of the curriculum of things you're supposed to learn from or the karmas you're supposed to complete, or it may simply be an incompatibility between conflicting intentions in your consciousness. One of the things I observe in you right now is it really is like almost like a war going on energetically, where there's this push-pull, where there's a new energy that is a calm, like a peaceful energy. And there's another partially genetically driven, partially basic self-patterning driven, fundamental tension that comes in. So you have a part of you that's trying to let the tension go and a part of you that's holding that fist. So you've got this process of like trying to pry open a clenched fist. Now, the radical perspective that I was talking about is it's like if your right arm offend you, then cut it off. Or if your right eye offend you, then pluck it out. So it's almost like there's a way in which we can, it's almost like you take the entire scaffolding or the entire paradigm or the entire structure within which you are experiencing this as an individuated, ego-defined being, and that one just gets thrown out. And I mean that in the sense of it becomes a reset. Primarily, the basic self and the subconscious level is occupied with memory. It may serve you in the process of discovering more of yourself because you became very disassociated from the traumas you experienced as when you were younger. You became very disassociated from anything below the throat anyway. So, in order to restore greater association and awareness, you had to accept and explore and understand what it is that you believe you went through. So that the utility of that has passed. And now it's like, are you willing to be born anew today, having never been traumatized, having never had any of those things happen? Having, you get what I'm saying? And that's a radical one because part of your identity is tied to the things that you believe that you went through. And it may even be in a positive sense. I'm strong. I know that I'm strong because I overcame that. But what if I'm strong because God's strong and there's nothing left of me but God being strong? So, in a sense, it's like an emptying of the consciousness. Your mind is a beautiful problem solver, but the thing that is to be cleared is the you that believes there is a problem. Because the only problem you see is the problem that is created in the fabric of your consciousness using the memory of your subconscious and the associations of that. So the intention, I think, during this period that would be most helpful to you, and bearing in mind this is not a context where I could probably do the kind of work that would be needed to unlock some of that, but the intention that I would set for you is updating the consciousness to newness and letting go of any memory, any and all memory, to be born anew without memory. And it's not about memory in the intellectual sense because let's differentiate memory from recall. Recall is your ability to call forward useful information intellectually to process consciously and work within this physical 10% level. That you'll want to maintain at least for a while. At some point, that may not be useful either, in which case you can let that go and just do SEs all the time. And we know people who do that quite effectively. But what I'm talking about is memory in the sense of a kind of a reference point or a kind of unit of assumption or unit of processing within your consciousness that continues to perpetuate the version of reality and the lens through which you see reality. So instead of addressing what you see, you address the seer. In a sense, the reason you're having, let's say, electrical shorts or blown circuits, yeah, in your consciousness is because you're attempting to run. It's like when you plug in an American mechanical device in Europe and it kind of goes poof, and then it stops working forever. You're trying to run a certain current of spiritual energy that is now available to you through an outdated identity pattern. So place the intention on shedding that one, figuring out what the hooks are that are holding it in place, and then even letting it pass into spirit. Like, is this, you could even do like a eulogy, like write a beautiful poem for the you that is passing into spirit now. The older version, the 1.0, the one that got you here. Thank God. Thank God for him. What a beautiful being that got me here. Do you get what I'm saying? What you're looking for, health is primarily unencumbered life flow within the human system. And unencumbered includes unencumbering the intelligence of the system to heal itself. So I think that's more or less what I have for you right now, my friend. Uh, I don't, can somebody unmute him? I don't know where he is anymore. Yeah, I can see you. I just, oh wait, there, I can unmute you. I found you again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful and so helpful. One of the questions that comes up for me is I've done I've done a ton of healing and forgiveness and been my dad, been my mom, and have how you know described during forgiveness and stuff. But I feel as though there's every day there's new things that are continuing to come up, and so how do I balance that with what you just described, and I'm having some challenges also understanding how I facilitate, how I do this sort of memory reset. Um,
Yeah, it would be more like doing the forgiveness as an action for you intellectually right now. If you were to visualize just sitting with them, the way I described before, with a great spiritual teacher, somebody in the room just working on you all, and you just say, by the time we leave this room, we will meet for the first time and we will be in love. By the time we leave this room, nothing will have happened before this moment other than I love you. You see
mhm,
that?
mhm,
So you get that intention of just, I want to meet them for the first time. And you may find that the people that you see in that experience are very different than the people you thought you knew. You will have an unending slurry of things to forgive if you are relating to the lower self in them. And as soon as you find their true self, you will find that there is nothing to forgive.
mm,
Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, I do.
True forgiveness for me is actually getting to the point where you are so beyond the trauma, the story, the memory that you see nothing left to forgive. You just say thank God and you meet them for the first time. Their forgiveness is for me the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It is a resurrection, it is a rebirthing, it is a renewing. into the immediacy of the divinity that's in front of you and the divinity that you are.
Mhm.
Is different than dismantling all the wrongs that someone did to you. It's entering a consciousness where you see no wrong in anything that occurred and you see only the beloved.
Right, right. I
So
get that.
you can experience with that. And the other is use a metaphor, the identity thing for the reset. Imagine that you're operating an Android you and that this energy is pouring in, is animating that thing, and you're doing this, and figure out it's almost like in that metaphor, or like you're driving, imagine you're driving this old Volkswagen Beetle that's all broken down and doesn't work too well, and you need to upgrade. Now, what I've found energetically is it's like if you have that old car, that's great. You know how to work on it. You try to replace this part, you do as much work as you want. But if the new energy coming in is electric vehicle, it's gonna be a tough one. You kind of need to just start fresh. You get what I'm saying? It's like maybe you're just driving the wrong car. If you want to use no gas, maybe you're just driving the wrong car.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like, what is that you that you're choosing to operate that no longer is compatible with the requirements energetically of your consciousness? And then what do you need to do to let that one go? Because as quickly as that one goes, the part of you that can handle it steps forward and goes, okay, I'm in that spot now. But
Hmm.
until you truly let go of who you thought you were and the identity that has all these traumas that I'm talking about, that incompatibility will continue to create discomfort and even physical issues for you.
Hmm.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
I do. And I wanted to share one thing that happened just before the elections this last year is that I went up to Windermere and I was fearful that I was going to experience the same 4 years that I experienced the last time he was elected, of fear, anxiety, turning on MSNBC every night and upsetting myself and going through that whole mental gyration of anxiety and anger and hatred and such. Anyway, I went to Windermere and I experienced pretty much what you described. In I went to sleep and woke up in the middle of the night, and I had the intention of letting go of this anxiety or with this hatred of Donald Trump. And I somehow did a sort of, this was before the alchemy class that I took. A I focused on the hatred of him, and then somehow, and this was a sort of deep, sort of semi-conscious state in the middle of the night, where I applied this level of love, tremendous amount of love that just came out of the ethers, and woke up in the morning, fell asleep, woke up in the morning, and the first thing that came to my mind is, oh my God, I love Donald Trump. I love him. And it was a
Yeah.
sort of miraculous thing. And so is that, that
Yeah, and
sounds,
you're demonstrating something that's important with what I said about bringing your parents in. It is not enough, and in fact, it perpetuates the same problem to have the intention of healing your traumas with them. That's perpetuating the same story. When I said, when I talked about that story, I said, go inside and you tell them, hey, listen, we're not leaving this room until we are meeting each other for the first time and we are totally in love with each other.
yeah, I get it. Okay.
See, that's a much more ambitious than I'd like to clear my junk with my family. It's
Mhm.
like ask and it shall be given, but most people, what do they ask? They ask for a loaf of bread. I'm saying ask for the grocery store. I don't want to just be like okay with my crappy parents. I want to be in love with them. I want to see nobody but God when I look at them.
Mhm.
See, so even the energy comes in on that. That is the ambition. That is the audacity that we have to have if we want to be free
Got
of,
it.
of these patterns. we have to be willing to ask the unreasonable question. We have to be willing to be unreasonable in our intention, unreasonably loving. Like you, I want to love Donald Trump. It's like the you all those years ago in the first term. How could you possibly? That's crazy. Who could possibly? And you just did it. You just said, no, I want to love him. It's not enough for me to tolerate the next 4 years. I want to love this man. And guess what? In one night it happened. So you know how to do this.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey.
My pleasure, Tom.
And I may be in touch.
Right on.
God bless you. I love you.
God bless you. All right, a couple of public service announcements. There is an Insight One coming up. If you haven't done Insight, please try Insight. I think if somebody can post the link and all that good stuff that I shared, uh, Insight One is oh yeah, that I didn't know this, but there's a promotional code that will get you a discount on Insight One. If you haven't done an Insight One in many years, go do an Insight One. It will be at the Four Point Sheraton West Side in Culver City, which is where I live, and it is a very nice location. And yeah, I think it would be wonderful. The other one I want to plug for you or suggest is we have also soul-centered living with USM starting very soon, so I'll post that link. So if obviously the Insight One is kind of an extended weekend, it is such a gift to give yourself. And the beauty of it is it's like just, a couple of days out of your life that just can change everything. And a lot of people on this call can attest to it. Soul-centered living is an extended 10-month program that will help you anchor a lot of transformation, a lot of powerful work over a sustained period of time. And there's a lot of people on this call that came to this work that we do in Soul Transcendence through USM. So yeah, that would be a cool one too. So that's the extent of my promotion for this moment. Other than that, God bless you. I love you. Peace be still. The blessings already are. Thank you.